kind of weird reviewing an Edgar Wright movie because in my experience, I've had to watch all of his movies at least 3 times before I was able to fully appreciate them. Seriously, it wasn't until like the 4th time I watched Scott Pilgrim vs. the World that I went, oh. So think of this as more of a first impressions video. So The World's End, the third collaboration between Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost. This movie is about Simon Pegg, who never really got over his time in high school. Life never really got better for him, so he still hangs on to this one night where he and 4 of his friends tried to make the ultimate pub crawl, where they tried to have at least 1 beer in 12 different pubs. They called the whole thing the Golden Mile. But they never actually made the whole thing. So Simon Pegg, after all this time, tries to round up all of his old buddies to go back to the town they all left behind and really just try again. And his friends are played by Nick Frost, Paddy Considine, Martin Freeman, and Eddie Marsden. And these guys are fun to hang out with. Like, they have great banter, and you can tell that the actors are all having fun together throughout this movie, even though their characters would rather be anywhere else. But Simon Pegg is the loser of the group, even though he was the cool one back in high school. But so it was nice to have like that nostalgia thing going for it. But the longer the night goes on, they start to notice strange things about their town, and it turns into a genre film when they found out that their town has been taken over by robots. And despite the invasion, Simon Pegg really still wants to keep the pub crawl going. And this is a very fun movie, and as much as I like them, I'll never call an Edgar Wright movie hilarious. It's more like a chuckle fest with me, like, such was the case with this. Like, I was having fun, and they kept the jokes coming, some slapstick, some were more clever, and I had to think about them for a couple seconds, and there were some jokes that clearly just went right over my head. And I like that I noticed things in this movie the first time that I didn't notice in other Edgar Wright movies until I saw them the second time. Like, I noticed some of the foreshadowing in the dialogue, and then some references to past movies. But for all the comedy, I really like the action in this. Like, just like that first initial fight was great because it just kept expanding into something bigger, and like the second half of the movie is a lot more action oriented, so the laughs aren't as frequent. But that's not really a flaw because I was really enjoying the action. I also like the style direction. Everything's really quick cuts, lots of edits, lots of zooms, and not in like a choppy way. It all fits, it all feels natural. And whether you like his movies or not, you have to admit, Edgar Wright is one of the most creative directors working today, especially with this movie. You might be able to predict the ending, but just how it gets there is impossible to tell. Like, this movie just takes a lot of twists and turns that are just like things that I would have never even thought of. Like, I can't even, just like, wow. So in the end, if you're an Edgar Wright fan, you've definitely seen this movie already, so you don't really care what I think, but I'm curious as to what you thought, so tell me that in the comment section. If you're curious about this movie and at least liked Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz like I did, I think this is worth checking out in theaters. I had a lot of fun with it, and I really did enjoy the ending of this movie. So let's just end this the usual way. If you've seen this movie, tell me what you thought of it in the comment section, and if you like this review and you want to see more, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it.